So today I'm here with Tascha Steed, and we're going to be finding out all about Reiki. We're going to find out what it is and if it can help you. So, hi Tascha, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Parm. Thanks for having me.
So, tell us more about what Reiki is and how you got involved in it.
Okay, yeah. So Reiki is an energetic healing modality. So basically, what we're trying to do is determine if there are any blockages in our system, and if there are, try to clear them to let the energy run fluidly again. We can go into it in a bit more detail in a little bit, but basically we have chakras, which are energetic points that are dotted kind of down the center line of our body. And those are energetic windmills where sometimes energy can get trapped or blocked. So what we do with Reiki is we focus our intention on these points and try to clear and get everything flowing again.
Fantastic. So I didn't realize it was connected to the chakra system. How did you find out about it, first of all?
So I was finishing my my undergraduate. So I was 21, I guess, and seems like a long time ago now. And I went and did a master's in art therapy, and so that kind of got me into the whole world of alternative healing, holistic health. And it kind of organically came from there. I was working at the time, I was doing my master's practical work in hospitals. And so I saw that they were using Reiki in hospitals with cancer patients, for example, for pain relief and pain management. And so it kind of, it caught my eye, and I delved a bit further into that world, which is,
Fantastic. So does it take a long time to become a Reiki healer?
No, so actually, like it's surprisingly simple, which is something that's really nice about it. You know, doesn't require super long trainings. It's not very complicated. It's a lot of it really is actually more about having faith and having kind of believing in what you're doing, because it is kind of esoteric and a little bit kind of, some people have trouble accepting it, if that makes sense. It sounds a little bit hippy dippy.
Absolutely, woo woo, I think is what people are calling it now. But we both know that working with energy is a very special job, isn't it? It's not something that everyone can do. You have to have a particular kind of sensibility, and especially with the chakra healing. I mean, I think that's something that's gained a lot of popularity, hasn't it, over the recent decade, perhaps?
Absolutely. I think that comes in a lot with kind of the rise in popularity of yoga as well, because I teach yoga as well. So it's kind of, I think it's, as you say, it's got more visibility through that kind of world. But yeah, going back to training in Reiki, I mean, I think the important thing is to find teachers that you trust, and teachers that are doing it from a kind of calling point of view, as opposed to like a money-making point of view, if that makes sense. You know, to kind of really get a good vibe from the teacher. I think that says a lot about the quality of the training that you'll get.
Absolutely. And what have you found it most useful for then in your work?
I found it very interesting how much it overlaps with the world of yoga, because I got into yoga after I did Reiki. So I was really surprised by how much overlap there was, given that Reiki comes from Japan and yoga is obviously from India. So I've always found that really fascinating with all these ancient healing techniques, because it makes you realize that ultimately they all overlap and they've got so much in common. And it makes you kind of think, well, obviously then there must be something to it if they were doing exactly the same in Japan as they were doing in India. So that always resonates very strongly.
Before they had airplanes.
Exactly.
Long before they had airplanes.
Long before they had airplanes. Long before. And also, I always say as well, all of these ancient healing techniques, I think it's kind of what we're lacking nowadays, because we're so disconnected from nature and the natural rhythms of the world. And as you say, we're traveling, we've got our phones all the time, we're distracted. I think people really now, the healing that humanity needs is a very kind of like on an energetic level, on a vital level of kind of going back to our roots.
Absolutely. And I spoke to someone a while ago who was also an alternative therapist, but also studied science. And she was talking about energy down to the atomic level. Because I don't think people have a problem accepting the science of atoms and energy on that level. But when we talk about it like we're talking about it now, it seems to be a bit of a jump for them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Have you had any good discussions about this when you're trying to convince people to try it, perhaps?
Well, you know, a really good example is my husband, who's an engineer, and so for him,
that's a good example.
Completely too much.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of I kind of sell it as a, well, just, you know, lie down, let's give it a go. There's no harm in trying it. And if you feel something great, and if you don't, it doesn't matter, but just kind of see how you feel afterwards, right? Because a lot of times as well, people during the sessions, you know, they say you can feel heat, you can feel cold, you can feel tingling, you can feel, so it's not either as if there's a kind of a specific feeling that you're supposed to feel to know that you're feeling it, because we're all individual and we all feel, as you said, energy in different ways to different levels. So it is, I think, just offering it and then seeing, you know, hoping that people are open-minded enough to give it a go, and then hopefully then off the back of that see how good they feel afterwards.
Feeling is believing, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And so you mentioned art therapy and yoga. Do people come to you for a particular condition, or have you found it helpful to work with a particular kind of patient, yourself personally?
So for art therapy, usually it would be more kind of psychological, emotional issues.
Right.
So people come with a more clear kind of like, okay, I'm having trouble with dealing with this. And so then we kind of have a clear focus. Yeah. With the Reiki, I found that people come more just kind of for self-care and for well-being, for general well-being, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And I think quite a lot of time, quite often people will come with a physical manifestation of something that's actually psychological or emotional, right? Because we know that a lot of our physical aches and pains and things that we feel are actually deep rooted in something else. So ironically, sometimes someone will come, well, oh, I've had a chronic, you know, lower back pain for the last 6 months, and, or, you know, whatever. And then through doing the Reiki, maybe then, you know, you feel something and then you discuss with them afterwards, and it's, oh yeah, well, actually, you know, it started around the time that XXX, you know, and so it's interesting. I think for some people, they come in thinking, oh, well, I'm a bit sore. And then actually through the process, we bring out something, we uncover something that they hadn't even associated to the pain that they were feeling, which is really interesting, I find.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And it comes back to that idea of stuck energy, doesn't it? Because if it is stuck energy, it could have both emotional and physical manifestations, couldn't
Absolutely.
it? And so in terms of the wider world, especially in the current situation, is there something from the philosophy of Reiki that could help people, do you think?
Yeah, well, I do think that, okay, so first of all, there's a lovely mantra in Reiki that we use, which is really lovely, which I have here. Let me read it to you. It's very simple, but it's a quite nice one, which is easy to kind of put into a morning routine, you know, say it once in the morning.
Oh, I know what's coming. This is a good one. People need to get their pens and paper out and write this down. Okay.
So this one is, so it says, just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not anger. Just for today, I will honor my parents, teachers, and elders. Just for today, I will count my many blessings. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will be kind to every living being. Just for today.
Thank you, Tasha. I was given that, I think, in my first Reiki healing a long time ago. And I think I did the number 1 initiation. It was such a long time ago, but I keep finding the book with the notes, and that's got that mantra or prayer or whatever you want to call it is in that book, and every time I read it I instantly feel calmer. It doesn't matter what's going on, and it's such a nice thing to incorporate into your morning routine.
Yeah, and it's just so based on, you know, living in that present moment, right? So it's just for today. So what happened yesterday doesn't matter, and what's going to happen tomorrow doesn't matter. It's kind of, let's try and be at peace and calm in the present moment, which is something that we also struggle with so much nowadays. You know, we're always worrying about yesterday or worrying about what we're going to do tomorrow. And so that ability to kind of center yourself in the here and now is very powerful, and especially now with everything that's going on with the anxiety that people and the uncertainty that we all feel. I think, yeah, that's very powerful. So yeah, I would definitely, you know, using a mantra like that, I think is very powerful. And then also just like general kind of meditation-y body scans are also really good as well. So just kind of to sit down, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and slowly just, you know, scan down from crown to root, and just try to see if you find anything on the way down, and just focus on that and sit with it and accept it. And kind of, you know, I think body awareness and breath work and intention, all that kind of stuff is very powerful.
Fantastic. I feel calmer just listening to you. So I have to ask this question. You don't have to answer it, but what do you do to keep calm and stop yourself perhaps getting too involved with the people you treat, so you don't get bogged down or exhausted? Are there things that you do for yourself to keep yourself centered?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have quite a strong yoga asana practice, so that for me really helps me to kind of, you know, the minute I step on my mat, I feel kind of like, you know, I start my breathing, and that really helps me. I admit that I struggle still with meditation. I think meditation is something that is very tough. But I think also to not be too tough on ourselves, not be too demanding on ourselves, and saying, you know, actually I can just sit and do some pranayama or breath work and focus on my breath and just body awareness, and that's already really good, right? To allow 5 minutes to do that. In terms of getting over kind of invested in treatments, I mean, Reiki's quite good in the sense that the energy, so the practitioner is kind of a conduit, so we're kind of closing a circuit, if that makes sense. So we're not directly, my energy isn't going into them and their energy isn't coming into me. So it's just kind of, yeah, like a circuit. You're just kind of creating movement, but you're not sharing. So in that sense, does that make sense to you?
No, I'm sorry, I'm completely confused now, because I understand something about chakra work. I've done some of this myself, and I understand getting all the chakras moving and getting rid of blocked energy, because it's quite easy to visualize chakras as in their little wheels. So I understand that part, but so how is this different from somebody who says they're a chakra worker? Because you mentioned Japan, but you haven't told us that much about it.
Well, I mean, I'm not very familiar with chakra work that's not related to Reiki. So I wouldn't be able to really tell you about that. Like, all of my experience has been with working with the chakras through Reiki. So I mean, because it's a question that everyone asks, is how do I make sure that I'm not going to get affected by someone's negative energy, or that I'm not going to give too much of my own energy and not be left with enough for myself? And something that we were always taught was that you're not pulling on your own reserves. You're just helping move that other person's energy, but it's staying within their body, if that makes sense.
Oh, I see. So how do you do that then?
So Reiki is basically, you're holding your hands a little bit of distance, either lightly touching or lifting, or lifted slightly above,
like hands-on healing.
Hands-on healing, hands-on.
That's it.
And we basically use symbols that we're taught in the training. So there are symbols that you use that are basically considered as keys, or again, it's kind of to set your intention into the healing that you're doing. So it's like a focus point. And so there are various different symbols, but for example, there's one for focus and power. There's another one for mental and emotional healing. There's another one for past or past life healing. So depending on what the patient has kind of told you that they want, you kind of choose your symbols, and then it's just a question of sitting and just gently, and you feel it. I mean, I feel it, and you know.
So I'm really intrigued now about this closed circuit system. So is it, for example, because I've had hands-on healing, it's fantastic, but I've never really thought about how it works. But as we're talking here about energy systems, is it something like putting your hands into somebody's aura, because the aura extends quite wide around a person's body, doesn't it? Or is it the idea of somehow not finding holes, but finding things that are a little bit damaged around one of the etheric layers, for example? How would you put it?
I would say basically, because the hand positions are directly linked to the chakras as well. So you're focusing, you know, if I'm focusing on the crown, I'll do a hand position here, I'll do a hand position here, I'll do a hand position here. So you're really, and then the third eye or the throat, you really are focusing your hand positions on those energetic points. So what you're feeling is kind of a vibration on those energetic points. And so when you feel that, and you feel it, like as you're going down, it's really interesting to treat someone, because you realize like, oh, actually, or you know, just you have that feeling of, you know what, I'm just going to stay here for a little bit longer than I normally would, because it's just asking for it. So it's very kind of intuitive and very, you know, it's sensation based.
Magic.
Magic.
I like to talk about the magic. I know lots of people like to talk about the science as well, but we don't really need to know what's happening on a molecular level if it's working, do we?
Well, and there've been loads of experiments or like studies done on Reiki where they actually take like super zoomed in videos or photos of water. I don't know if you've seen any of these. There are a few articles out there, and it's that you can actually see when someone's giving Reiki to water, you can actually see the vibration of.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if I have it here somewhere. I don't think I do.
So I think it's. Oh, see, I have to say, Tasha, I am still struggling with this idea of you not being a channel.
Well,
because you are, surely.
you are, it's like a conduit. It's you're a channel, but it's kind of it's a channel. It's a channel of their energy passing through you, but you're not absorbing any of it yourself. If that makes sense. So like
if you're not engaging in the energy, how are you moving the energy?
Because it's just moving. It's moving through the hands,
right,
and through you. But it's not. But I'm not healing them with my energy. They're healing themselves with their own, and we're moving their energy to heal them. It's not me giving them energy.
So you're like a water pipe.
Yeah. It's like basically it's creating movement. It's unblocking their system and allowing their energy to flow. I'm not giving them any energy.
I see. Oh, that makes more sense, I suppose. So it's like a little wrench. You're acting like a little wrench in a car engine, and essentially the fact that you are a wrench, they're moving their own wrench. The engine is moving its own wrench in a way.
You're kind of there you're there to facilitate this clearing, but you're not actually actively. I'm not doing anything when I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to unblock this. It's just you're creating a circuit so that the energy has space to move and it deblocks itself.
Essentially, you're allowing the person to heal themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like that. I like that a lot, because a lot of people, I think, they get a little bit scared about this idea of channeling or higher powers, you know, however you want to word that. They don't like this idea of something coming in from outside that they can't see. And what you've described really is the fact that a lot of healers like yourself, you're helping the body heal itself, essentially. And it comes back to the idea that we actually have most of the solutions that we need to heal ourselves, don't we?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The body is so wise, and if we allow it and we give it that space to heal itself, more often than not, it can. It's about giving it that space.
Fantastic. So that's the physical side of things, and we have touched on the spiritual. And for you, how important is the whole philosophy of past lives, connecting with others? I know each aura has its own etheric layer, and have you dabbled much into that?
So I haven't so I did my training in kind of distance healing and
Okay.
kind of crystal healing as well and all that stuff, but I feel so profoundly connected to the one-on-one sessions with a patient there. Like I enjoy that modality kind of so much that I haven't really delved so much into the kind of distance healing past life stuff as much. Just it hasn't called to me in the same way as the physical treatments do. And I think that links as well to my work as a yoga teacher as well. I just really enjoy working with people one-on-one physically, kind of
in a room, in a physical space.
Yeah. So I do struggle, and I'll admit that I actually do struggle with the idea of distance healing much more than I do like Reiki one-on-one. I believe 100%. Distance Reiki, maybe it's because I haven't practiced enough or I haven't gone in deep into it enough, but that for me even, and I'm very open to all these things, even I struggle a little bit with a kind of but how are you going to be sending something to someone who's like in another country from far, I'm but then also there are people who are very, very who have a lot more kind of and who are a lot more sensitive to energy. And people who are, so maybe maybe it's a question as well of maybe my sensitivity is at its peak on a one-to-one, and maybe I'm not sensitive enough to send it afar. I don't know, so I think it really depends.
Everyone has different talents, don't they?
And and I think it's finding what works for you. And with my experience with Reiki, the one-on-ones have been amazing. So I've stuck with that, and that's kind of I haven't.
Fantastic. Well, I think the distance healing is quite challenging for a lot of people, but most people will recognize that they have, even if it's just happened once or twice, had a thought about someone and later discovered that person was thinking of them. So on that level, I think people can kind of imagine that. And we wouldn't have a worldwide system of praying, really, would we, if we didn't believe it didn't help someone at some point somewhere. So that's
going back to intention. It's just kind of just the act of sending out that good energy is never going to do anything bad, right? So even just sending out good, like happy thoughts and goodness is never going to be a bad thing. So
exactly. Well, thank you. I feel much more illuminated now, and I will be asking for questions. So if I get any of those questions that I can pass on to you, maybe I can put them to you, and we can get back to people. But we'll wrap up the interview there, and I hope that you will join us for the next ahweb interview, which will be in a week's time.